2019 has been a bit of a wild year in the world of Philadelphia sports, isn't it? I mean, we've gone from this to this to that. In this video, we're going to take a look at absolutely everything that has happened in the world of Philadelphia sports this year. So for the last time in 2019, buckle up and welcome to this year in Philadelphia sports, where we go over everything that's happened this year in Philadelphia sports. It's only right that we start in the month of January, and back then I still had a dodgy haircut. That's not changed. But more importantly, it was cold, which meant ice hockey was on, and Nolan Patrick was healthy and hit a blistering trick shot against the Minnesota Wild that went a little something like this. I mean, that's defying physics. I don't get that. But the main news in January, of course, was the Eagles' playoff run. A run that seemed so improbable, so out of reach, and with Nick Foles at quarterback, Doug Peterson channeled the energy. Foles had a shrine in the locker room, and the Eagles marched down to Soldier Field to take on the Chicago Bears, where the most iconic moment of all of 2019 happened: the double doink. Who could forget? Eagles legend Cody Parkey was like, do you know what, lads? I'm not done yet. I'm going to help you out one last time by not just hitting the post once, but hitting it twice and sending the Eagles through to the next round of the playoffs, where they would face the New Orleans Saints. And while that game ended in heartbreaking fashion with the ball slipping through the palms of Alshon Jeffrey, it had its plus moments. On Lindblom, our captain intercepted the very first play of the game, a Drew Brees pass picked off by Captain Cravon, and then the Eagles marched down the other end and scored. The atmosphere was euphoric. There was such a strong belief the team could really do this, and they fell an inch short. Hopefully fate is a little kinder this time around. On to February, and Ben Simmons played in his first All-Star game, while Joel Embiid played in his second, which is a thing, I suppose. This month also saw the Eagles make some coaching moves, and among them was a promotion of Carson Walsh, a man who, as we all know, really liked Matt Collins. Like, really liked Matt Collins. As in, really liked Matt Collins. We said goodbye to Chris Maragos, but the two main stories from February did not come from the Eagles. Instead, the first of which was a goal in the outdoor game scored by Claude Giroux against the Pittsburgh Penguins. The rain was pouring down, the game was on the line, and the celebration that Giroux gave after scoring that goal will go down as one of the most iconic images of all time. And then, the big one, Bryce Harper signed with the Philadelphia Phillies, a 13-year deal worth $330 million. Now, for those of you who don't quite get the context of how long 13 years is, here's how I looked 10 years ago, and this is... I sound the same. Bryce Harper also promised that he would bring a title back to DC in his opening press conference, and that went well. And the Sixers would beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, ending a 19-game losing streak, a span that lasted 10 years, and they did it without Joel Embiid. So that was a nice touch. But the main starlets here were Bryce Harper. Phillies have a superstar again. Claude Giroux gets his name in lights after a stunning goal. And also, the birth of this week in Philadelphia sports. The first ever episode where I sat on my bed and the lighting was awful and I shouted about, and now look at us, eh? Not much has changed, but we've got a green screen. To March, and the Phillies started the season with 4 wins in a row. There was a raucous victory against the Washington Nationals, of course, the former team of one Bryce Harper, and it's safe to say he made quite the statement upon his return. The fury you could see in the celebrations, it was amazing to see. Although it would be short-lived, so maybe we can't harp on too much about that. As we said goodbye to one legend in Nick Foles, we welcome the return of another in Deshaun Jackson. The Eagles traded a 2020 7th round pick for the wide receiver who would return home after a hiatus with Tampa Bay and Washington to finish what he started in Philadelphia. The problem is, he only played one game and a bit, so didn't go to plan just yet, but there is hope. He could still come back for the playoffs and right those wrongs. Saying goodbye to Nick Foles was bittersweet. Eagles fans wanted to see him succeed, wanted to see him thrive, but at the end of the day, he was always going to be the backup to Carson Wentz, and he earned the opportunity to be a starter after going on 2 back-to-back playoff runs, proving he can beat NFL defenses in the big time, under those primetime lights, and of course win a Super Bowl 52 MVP award. Since then, we won't talk, we'll just pretend it's all golden, alright? Forget Jacksonville for now. He's doing great. He's doing great. Also, during that month, we had our most disliked video of all time because the Eagles re-signed Ronald Darby, and I said it was the worst move of the offseason. I tried to tell you. Brandon Graham finally got a contract extension, 3 years for the man who was drafted by the Eagles before the start of the decade. Only him and Jason Peters are the 2 players who have been on the Eagles before the decade and at the end of it, so that's something. LJ Fort signed. Sorry. Jason Kelsey, Isaac Seumalo signed extensions, and believe it or not, Jason Peters took a pay cut. I know, it's shocking. Jordan Howard was traded for Andrew Sunday. It's been a while since I've done that. And Vinny Curry also came to the city of brotherly love. In other news though, Yuri Letterer from the Flyers was arrested for buying cocaine. So any hopes of a white Christmas went. Now, April was a very big month for Philly Sports Network. Number 1, it was my birthday, April 6th. On April 19th, I quit my retail job to pursue Philly Sports Network full time. It had been 5 years I've been running the website, building up the YouTube channel, doing articles every day, and I was finally able to make that leap and do this full time. And I haven't looked back. It has been a roller coaster ever since, and I know it's slap bang in the middle of a review, but I did just want to say a massive thank you for all of your support this year. It has been a journey beyond my wildest imagination. I got to go to Prague. Oh, ruined a bit. Oh, no. I definitely didn't get to go to Prague and cover the Flyers season opener. Out of an office where I am now, we've got a team of the most passionate, dedicated, and supportive writers. I've honestly never met a group like it, who in all facets of life, we've seen people have children this year, we've seen people get married, we've seen some great achievements and some really low lows. Like, we lost one of our writers, Matthew Martin, to cancer earlier this year, and ever since, that year has been in honour of him. So I just hope he's happy with what we've achieved this year. But more than anything, I think the fact that our little group came together so strong and helped one another out, it's been amazing. Like, it's such a blessing to be a part of. But this community, we've now got a Discord with close to 150 die-hard fans all getting together, making friends, talking about what they love. It's amazing. We had a live stream on Sunday that had nearly 400 viewers at once. It was unbelievable. Like, you are the most dedicated, supportive fan base imaginable, and you may tell me to stick to soccer, you may hate what I do, you may say I've got a silly haircut or my teeth look a bit stupid, but at the end of the day, I couldn't love you anymore. I would not trade a single one of you for the world. So if you're watching this video, thank you for being a part of this journey, and I promise you'll get 110% of me every single day from the first day of 2020 until the last. Anyway, that aside, the Philadelphia 76ers played the Brooklyn Nets, and Jared Dudley existed and then promptly didn't exist. So that was good. The Sixers extinguished the Nets and that stupid dance, which I wish I could do but can't do without looking like I'm doing the can-can along with it. And the NFL draft happened. The Philadelphia Eagles, after much deliberation, traded up and selected Andre Dillard, the offensive tackle out of Washington State, who already looks to be the heir to the throne for Jason Peters. Miles Sanders, the offensive rookie of the year candidate, has exploded onto the scene, while JJ Arcega-Whiteside does exist, I'm told, according to a source. Oh, and did someone mention Clayton Dawson? Clayton Dawson, da 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 da. Clayton Dawson, da 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 da. Clayton Dawson, da 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 da. Clayton Dawson, da 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 da. Bryce Harper returned to DC in April to face the fans that boo him, that wanted him out of the arena, that were begging for him to stay. He hits a bomb right over the Philadelphia Phillies fans, who roar into life. It was one of the most surreal, fulfilling moments. That was what sports is all about. On to May, the Eagles started OTA, so that was cool. But more importantly, the Sixers and Raptors played a 7-game series, which ended right in line with the Game of Thrones season finale. And when I tell you they were both equally as disappointing, I mean it. Kawhi Leonard buzzer beater will forever go down as one of the most heartbreaking moments in the hearts of Sixers fans, along with Game of Thrones. I mean, that sucked. But the fact that the Sixers took Kawhi Leonard and that Raptors team all the way to the very bitter end, it showed the growth of the Sixers, how much young promise is surrounding that team, and just how much can be achieved in the long run. It was a sign of things to come, but you can't help but get emotional at just what could have been if they'd have just held on for a couple more seconds. If they could have won that game, we'd arguably be looking at NBA champions right now. On to the month of June, and it was all about the money. On to the month of June, and if we're going to sum it up,
here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Kevin Hayes gets a nice 7-year, $50 million contract, becoming the cornerstone of this new Philadelphia Flyers regime. Alan Vigneault, who worked with him previously, wanted to build around a veteran leader, someone he knew had the work ethic to instill around the youth infusion. He's doing well so far. The NBA draft happened, where Matisse was selected by the Sixers and instantly captured the hearts of everyone. I mean, how can you not love that smile? We stand an angelic king, ladies and gentlemen. Carson Wentz becomes the highest paid quarterback in NFL history with a staggering $129 million deal. You can't complain at that, and I think it's safe to say he's deserved every penny so far. Though the Sixers wanted to get in on things and their free agency started, so in came Tobias Harris, out went Jimmy Butler, along with a lot of snake emojis, I imagine. Al Horford came over from the Celtics, and the Eagles brought back Darren Sproles for one last rodeo, which lasted about as long as my last relationship. And Orlando Scandrick signed. Sorry. In the summertime, when the weather is hot, it means Eagles preseason, and for Philly Sports Network, you know what it meant. We had preseason watch-along streams. It was one of my favourite things to do all year. Seeing so many of you watching the game live with me, it was amazing. We had the PSN writers on board at times. We had people watching on planes. It was amazing. It was the first time this community came together, and I can't wait to build on that foundation next year. But during preseason, we had this. Clayton Thorson, da 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 da. Clayton Thorson, da 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 da. Clayton Thorson, da 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 da. Clayton Thorson, da 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 da. Sorry. Notable breakout from Greg Wall Jr., so keep note of that. And we welcome 2 new babies into the world of Philadelphia. We have baby Harper and baby Giroux. It couldn't get more wholesome if we tried. September started and Deshaun Jackson wowed Eagles fans by bursting out for 154 receiving yards against the Washington Redskins. The Eagles went down early on, they came back, everything looked tickety-boo until we realised that was the last game we'd see Deshaun Jackson until Chicago, and then he'd get injured again. Things went downhill very quickly. The unlike Aguilar guy happened. I mean, that guy has made an entire career off Nelson Aguilar. Like, fair play to him. I mean, that's hustle. But more importantly, Cravon LeBlanc signs a contract extension and ends up on injured reserve. So the team go, we know you're the best cornerback we have. We know you're amazing. We're going to give you a new deal. Go rest, get that list rank sorted, and we'll see you later in the year when you're going to come back and change the game for everyone, which ultimately is what happened. Although the Eagles did end September with a huge win over the Green Bay Packers, so that was cool. Shout out King Craig James for one of the best plays of the season, breaking up a vital pass just after the team lose Avonte Maddox to an injury. The last play of the game, Aaron Rodgers is scrambling around and King Craig steps in and bats that pass down. What a moment. October was a month for the Philadelphia Union, who amassed their first ever playoff win in the most heroic fashion. The only thing I can compare it to is that goal if you follow me on Twitter. You know, that Charlton at Wembley goal. Union took it to extra time. They beat the Red Bulls in a 7-goal thriller. They can get out of the next round, but what a moment for a team that was pushed into existence by die-hard soccer fans. You couldn't find a more wholesome ending. It was amazing. I went to Prague to cover the Philadelphia Flyers season opener and attempted hockey challenges, and that went as expected. What could go wrong?
Tak to je napíš.
It's not even funny, this.
Brady has no driving license. He's not driving.
Is there like a technique that should be... I did a thing! The month of October was largely disappointing for the Eagles for mainly 2 reasons. One of them was Zach Brown, who went out and cursed former teammate Kirk Cousins, and that went brilliantly and resulted in his eventual cutting, so that was great. Orlando Scandrick then found his exit of the team, went on Undisputed and pulled that facade. Doug Peterson guaranteed a win against the Dallas Cowboys, and that was disgusting. They lost 37-10. They were utterly embarrassed, and it couldn't have gone any worse if they tried. Things were looking rocky for the Eagles. They needed a turnaround. Injuries were hitting. Doug Peterson was answering all sorts of questions. Mike Groh was getting more abuse than I do, while Jim Schwartz caught more stick than the new Star Wars film. Into November though, and things started to heat up for the Flyers, which is ironic considering they play a game on ice. Morgan Frost was called up to the final roster and scored in his debut in amazing fashion. You love to see it. Andrew Sunday was gone. Alright, he was cut. That again, didn't go well. Deshaun Jackson was placed on injured reserve, but don't you worry, because Jordan Matthews is back. Jordan Matthews is gone. Greg Ward Jr. was promoted and scored his first ever NFL touchdown in a remarkable turn of events. What a story it has been for the former Houston quarterback who spent 3 years trying to make the Philadelphia Eagles. He steps up and makes his voice heard. He makes an impact. Hopefully it's the start of something new for Greg Ward, an exciting new chapter in the life of an NFL player, someone that has spent 3 years begging on that practice squad, going to the AAF and honing his craft. It's great, and I think he should be a real force to be reckoned with in the playoffs if Carson Wentz can trust in him as he has been doing recently. You love the work ethic. It's amazing to see him always wanting those extra yards. Couldn't be happier. Sixers started red hot in November, and my God, Ben Simmons hit a 3. It's not a drill. It's not a joke. It actually happened. I'm shaking. I can't quite put it into words, but Benjamin of Simmonston hit a damn 3 ball. I know, just relax. It's okay. I don't get it either, alright? It happened somehow. If Ben Simmons can hit a 3, you can get that job, you can ask out that girl, you can get that promotion, you can graduate from college, you can do anything you want. Don't let your dreams be dreams in 2020, folks. Month of November for the Eagles was close but no cigar. They started well enough against the Chicago Bears, and then they almost beat the Patriots, and they almost beat the Seahawks, and then we get to December, and we have to talk about the Dolphins game, don't we? No, we're not. We won't. We'll pretend it didn't happen. We'll pretend they didn't lose to the Miami Dolphins. It's fine. It's fine. On a more serious note, though, obviously Oscar Lindblom was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, and it's heartbreaking. I think I can speak for everyone when we wish him and his family the very best over this next year and what must be an incredibly tough time. I can't even imagine what that's like. And I did just want to say a massive thank you to our writer Ricky, who helped facilitate the orders of over $1,000 worth of supporting wristbands. All of that money has been donated to a charity that directly impacts research for Ewing sarcoma. Like, it was an amazing thing to see everyone pulled together, buying the Hockey Fights Cancer jerseys, getting those wristbands from Ricky, and obviously shirts from elsewhere. Anything we can do to support that, we will. Everyone's hashtag Oscar Strong. We're pulling for you. I spoke to Oscar at the Prague game after he scored that clinching goal in the season opener, and it was the best article I think I've written all year. Like, the fact he came back out, made time for me. We had like a 5-minute discussion. He shook my hand after. He is the nicest, most down-to-earth guy you can meet, and I really wish him all the best. I hope he can pull through this and hopefully go on to have a very successful hockey career and a healthy, happy life. JT Realmuto became the first Philly in forever to win the Golden Glove. By that I mean it's been 20 years, alright? 20 years. So fair play to him. The Sixers started doing good things and bad things, as we all know. Christmas was great. They beat the Bucks ever since then. And the Eagles became the Eagles. The underdog story where they had to beat the Cowboys. They had to win out, really, to have any chance of making the playoffs. And that is exactly what they did. We've seen breakouts from all of the Philly Sports Network favourites, including Captain Crayvon LeBlanc, the human Beyblade Boston Scott, and even Sidney Jones. It's been amazing. And I've said it in This Week in Philadelphia Sports. I've said it on podcast. I think these young receivers have really bought in to Carson Wentz. I think they're playing with that chip on the shoulder. They're playing with a hunger that really wasn't there with Olshon. It wasn't there with Nelson Aguilar. And Wentz is trusting in these receivers. He's wanting to take a chance on Robert Davis. He's wanting to take a chance on Deontay Burnett. It's amazing. And I think this Eagles team, with the energy it has, with the magic of this team in the postseason, their third consecutive playoff appearance, can really make some noise. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that is what happened in 1 year of Philadelphia Philadelphia sports. I hope you've enjoyed this little recap. I'm sorry if I've missed any of your favourite moments. I tried to include as many as I could. Guys, it has been a blessing bringing you this content right now. I hope you have the happiest of New Year's. It is filled with blessings. I am so thankful to call you this little family. This Philly Sports Network community is like nothing I've ever seen. It's bigger than I could have ever imagined, and I just can't wait to keep grinding every single day to bring you the best content I can. All the best for 2020, guys. I hope the Eagles can make some noise in the playoffs for every single one of you. Thank you for all of your support and helping some British kids' dream come true. I love you all eternally. See you next time.